You're listening to the Follow the Leader podcast, brought to you by the Sand Springs Leader and Inkwell, your choice for custom apparel and printing. Visit them online at inkwellnation.com. We talk about all things Sand Springs athletics, who's who, what's going on, what's next, who's breaking records, and whatever else we want to talk about. From the CTM studios, this is the Follow the Leader podcast. Now here's your host, Kirk McCracken and Rusty Gunn.
Rusty Gunn, how's it going?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. So today we're going to talk strictly wrestling.
I like those days.
But before we do that, so I actually lied because I want to talk about
You're good at that.
stuff other than that. But basically, I just real quick want to talk about the teams right now at Sand Springs. The winter season, girls basketball, boys basketball, wrestling. It's been a really impressive season.
No doubt about it.
For the winter season. The girls ranked number 3. They're getting ready to head into regionals. They won the Frontier Conference. They've only lost one game this season. Really, really impressive. The boys have, won some games they weren't supposed to, lost a couple of games that they weren't supposed to, but they're playing well despite some of the circumstances they've had.
Soon to be hitting a little bit of a stride right now.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Is a good time to peak.
Yeah. But, okay, that's out of the way now. Wrestling, they're just amazing right now. Ranked number 1 in the state, have been on and off. They were ranked number 1 all year in tournaments.
Right.
They were 2 in duels for a while. Then they became number 1 towards the end of the season.
And number 1 when it really counted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so they went undefeated in duels, 17-0. Now, do you count the matches at Dual State as far as their dual record for the season?
Yes, it is the record.
If that's the case, then they're 20-0, I believe. And
Not
then
bad.
dual state champions. And they've got several guys that could win state championships this year. They won regionals last week, and now we're going into state. They've already got a state championship this year, dual state. Real quick, before we get to our guests, tell me just kind of your thoughts on the season this year that they're having, because I know you've gone to as many of the duels and tournaments that you could. So just kind of tell me what you think about what's gone on so far this year.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, just an incredible success that they've had. And I guess when I say unbelievable, really it was expected. As we've been building in this program and seeing what Kelly and his staff have done over the past several years. And, of course, having some really solid guys like Dayton Fix in there that were expected, not really could win, but should win the state championships. And there's several guys right there. If Dayton's out of the picture, which he's, world renowned, so to speak, in the wrestling world right now, getting a lot of coverage from Flow Wrestling and other outlets. But you even take him out of there and gosh, if he's not there, these other guys are getting that kind of press, from state and local media. Definitely. Specifically. But they're kind of under a shadow in a sense because of his accomplishments and things all over the world. And so, man, it's just unprecedented, really, what's happening with them.
And you talked to you mentioned about Dayton's press all over the world, or just his notoriety. And in the almost 4 years that he's been wrestling here since his freshman year, I've never heard any rumblings from any parents, any players about it's not fair that Dayton gets this kind of attention. They've all supported him. They've understood it. I think they're fans as well. I mean, how could you not be?
Well, I think, obviously you can't argue with his success and how good he is. But above and beyond that, I think his character really helps carry that. And, how can you get mad at Dayton? He carries himself very well, very humble about the whole thing that he's experiencing. His family has handled it well, and so there's really not much you can say.
Well, yeah, I told him before, if I had even half of his talent, I would be absolutely impossible to be around, which Rick thinks that way now. Anyway.
You already are.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
So, all right, that out of the way, we're going to get to our guest. Today we've got Bubba Flores, Charles Page High School graduate from 1996, was involved in the wrestling program. Has been involved in the youth wrestling program here at Sand Springs for 19 years.
Yes, sir.
And then for the past 3 years, you've been coaching wrestling at a junior high. Mm-hmm. So how's it going?
It's going good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Not
man.
bad.
Glad
Not
to
bad.
have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So just tell me a little bit about your time at Charles Page as not only a wrestler, but then from competing to coaching and now. Just kind of give us a rundown of how that's been for you and just some of the things that you've been able to see and witness in that time.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It's been real fun. Started 19 years ago, which was really young, And Big Al Carstetter come to me and said, "Hey, would you like to take over our novice program, beginners?" And I mean, I was just fresh out of school, and I said, "Sure, why not?" And here we are, 19 years later, of still coaching wrestling. But it's been fun. I've learned a lot over the years. I mean, thought I knew a lot of wrestling going into coaching, and I mean, every year I learned something, and the sport's involved from where I was to where it is now as far as technique, and you can't wrestle like we used to. I mean, we would try to hurt each other. It's more technique now than just going out and
No more metal folding chairs, is that what you're saying?
No, they got rid of that, and no more lead socks and stuff like that. So, but it's neat to see that sport involved and how big it's grown from when I wrestled. Like, freestyle wasn't that big back then, and we'd had that opportunity now, there'd be a lot of us that was a lot better now than we were then. But it's neat. It's good to follow, and it's been a pleasure to be part of all this. A lot of these kids now on this team, this graduating team, I've coached when they were 6 years old. So it's neat to share that experience with them at dual state and going into individual state. It's a fun sport.
So I want to come back to that in a minute, but just talk about the elementary program in general, because that has had a lot of impact on the high school and junior high level for wrestling here in Sand Springs. So when you took that 19 years ago, what did it look like, and what has it grown to today?
Numbers, we've never had a problem with numbers in Sand Springs of getting kids out to come wrestle. That's one of the reasons why we've always been successful. I mean, we've always been top 10. I mean, we've always been a contender. We have the kids come out. The numbers are there. We've always had good coaching staff before me, and we'll always have it after me. In the elementary program, I've got a guy down there now. He's not a Sandite, but his name's Kenny Giddens. He runs that program real well. Matt Adams has helped out a lot. Jeff Klein coaches the novice program. So, and then everybody's always just willing to, jump in and help out. But yeah, it's from here now when the numbers is a big thing.
On average, how many kids come out for elementary?
On average, your seasons go up and down, but on average, you're probably about 100 kids.
And state championship this year, one did they win?
They were overall. Overall,
okay.
They won. They do it a little different in elementary. They go by divisions.
Okay.
But I look at the overall, and we led that whole tournament. And I'm talking from Stillwater. A lot of these clubs, they combine. They've got a Oklahoma Wrestling Academy, and you've got big time coaches in these youth. I mean, you've got national champions, and they run these elementary programs, and they've got high caliber coaches, and we're going out and beating these guys. And a lot of it has to do with our exposure. We're getting more people wanting to come over to our program, and it just helps everybody out. So when you got good kids in there to wrestle with, it's like Dayton. He's still sharp and still, so everybody that wrestles with him every day gets better and better. So those kids that come to our program make everybody in our program better, whether they stay or not. But, in the elementary, you don't have to. You can just wrestle where you want to. And a lot of them want to come over and wrestle with Sand Springs. So
I'm kind of dominating questions
Go
here for a
it,
moment,
it,
but I get amped up when
Yeah,
talking
go
about
for it,
wrestling.
yeah.
And, I was just looking through some of these state qualifiers and state champions over the years, looking way back to like 1969. And a lot of these names are guys who are still around town.
Mm-hmm.
And not only around town, but a lot of these guys I've seen in the wrestling room, whether it be for the elementary program, maybe they're in there with the high school kids from time to time. What does that mean to the program in Sand Springs? Those guys kind of still being in town and putting their time and investment in, a lot of them even coaching.
Right. They probably feel like they owe that to wrestling, to the program, and I feel like I do. I mean, any knowledge that I can pass on to any kid, junior high, whether it be sixth grade or 6 years old to high school, it's fun to give back, and everybody feels like they're a part of that dual state championship. We've been coming at it so long. I mean, I don't know how many times we've fallen short with third. Even my class, I mean, we should have won it, and we didn't. We come up third. But it's just like we're reaching and we're there, and, they finally got it. So everybody feels that accomplishment, that wrestled through that program. So it's neat to see those guys come back, like Carstetter and Bobby Lyons. He never misses anything. I like watching those guys in there and getting excited. And I was excited, when they won dual state, and, they all feel that pride.
So from going to actually being a wrestler to coaching, that transition, how hard was that for you? Because I know some guys, it's hard for them to put away the the competitive spirit and all that kind of stuff. But then a lot of guys also realize, there's nowhere else to go. I'm not going to wrestle in college, or I'm not going to wrestle after college, or whatever. What was that transition like for you, going from wrestling to coaching?
Well, I had to tone it down quite a bit because I, I was brought up with some coaches that were very, very strict,
Sure.
very tough. Carstetter, one of them, but even my elementary coaches. So the way I brought up through wrestling, I kind of took that into coaching, and as the years go by, you kind of realize you can't do that anymore. There's things that change, and so that was the hardest part, was trying to tone it down and remember that I was coaching 6, 7, 8-year-olds. So that part was the hardest part, but once I got that figured out, it was fun. We had a lot of success growing up, with these kids, and we won a lot of state championships through elementary, individual, and we kicked a lot of butt around town.
Nice.
So it's kind of a philosophical question, since you bring it up, and thinking about the way things have changed, and new regulations, and then new, just, I guess, expectations on, not hurting Little Buttercup's feelings and those kind of things along the way. You can tell how I feel about that. So how do you feel like, where do you feel like some of those things have helped make the sport better, and where have those things maybe detracted from what we really could see?
My opinion is my opinion only, but I see a lot of the wrestling, a lot of the moves now, they stop. It's potentially dangerous.
Sure.
Well, back in the day, you could take a guy's arm, and if he didn't turn over and you're cranking on his arm, well, if it breaks, it breaks. They weren't going to stop it.
Wow.
So now it's like you get to a spot, it's potentially dangerous, going to stop it immediately. So that frustrates me as a coach. I'm like, why'd you stop it for? We're fixing to get back points, but I see, how it involves, and you don't want to see another kid get hurt. And
Sure.
And I've seen a lot of kids get hurt over the years, so I think it's a good thing. There's some things that they could be a little bit more lenient on, but I think it's for the safety. And there's a lot of stuff now with the times. Someone could get sued and in trouble, and schools, and so there's a lot of things that change, and that's probably been the new rules and regulations on it. Weight cut, they do their fat test at the beginning of the year, so there's a restriction on what they can pull down to. Back then you could lose 50 pounds if you could,
Right.
and you could lose it in a week. Now you can't do that. So and the hydration test, and there's all kinds of neat stuff that I think's good. And it changes a lot. You don't have a real big heavy kid cutting down to 112 that
Sure.
weighed 150. At the beginning of the year. So
Yeah. Rusty actually cut weight to do this podcast.
Yeah, I sure did.
He
Yeah,
was out jogging in the parking lot before we were.
with trash bags.
yeah, there you go. Got the trash bags.
Yeah, okay. There's a question, and we asked Kelly about this. We talked to him a little bit about cutting weight, and how a lot of I don't want to say a lot. There are some people that are like, oh, it's so dangerous and it shouldn't be that way, and blah blah blah. And we talked to Kelly about how he handles it, and he basically said it handles itself, because if a guy's not doing it right, the correct way, you're gonna see it in the wrestling room, and he's not gonna have energy, and he's gonna look horrible, and his face is gonna be sunken. He's not gonna be able to do. So he said it kind of takes care of itself. Do you have any of those issues? Because I know with the youth, it's the weight cutting probably isn't as big a deal as it is in high school. It might be. I don't know. I mean, how do you deal with that?
In elementary, definitely not. I mean, you're going to have a kid maybe lose a pound or two, or not eat one day.
Right.
They weigh in Friday night. Well, we're not going to do anything. You're going to go not eat lunch and then go weigh in and eat dinner, and you're going to be fine.
Sure.
Junior high, there's a little more, a little more weight cutting, especially when they get more freshmen. That's take a little more serious, because, there's a big difference from you weighing 112 and wrestling 112 versus you weighing 118 and then shedding a few pounds throughout the week to make 112. You're not killing yourself. You're basically just eating healthy, and that's all it is to it. Eating the right stuff and drinking a lot of water, and that weight will shed off of you. And then you last few pounds, you do lose a little more water than you want to, but you put it right back on. But yeah, the weight cut, it's not as much in junior high, and I don't stress it. If you want to cut, great. But you'll be able to tell if you're doing it wrong. You're right. You'll just won't have any energy, and the dehydration will take over, and you'll either wrestle like crap or form like crap. So it really doesn't matter whether you cut. If you cut down the next weight and you don't beat the guy there.
What's the farthest you ever cut?
My senior year, I came in, I was 120, but when I got out of school, I got into mixed martial arts. So I was walking around about 165, and I cut down to, I think the lowest I got was 137, but I fought 145. So I cut a lot of weight for that.
Biggest cut you ever seen somebody take?
Kenny Giddens, he's my junior high coach, or elementary coach. He used to travel with us in the mixed martial arts, and that guy would walk around about 210 and fight 155.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Wow.
How long would it take him to lose it?
It would take him probably about 2.5 weeks to get it all off. And the last 5 pounds was, I mean, it was tough on him. But he'd get down, and those are night before weigh-ins. So you weigh in Friday night, and you fight Saturday. So he would be back up to 195, easy.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's crazy. So what did you like your freshman year through, or what was the lowest you ever wrestled?
My sophomore year I wrestled. It was 101, I believe, and I come in weighing about 94.
Wow.
So I was a little guy.
So was that 101 was the lowest weight?
Yeah, it was the lowest weight. It changed. It went from 101, then it went to 103.
Yep.
You know, because they were trying to raise that up. And then so I wrestled 101, and then I wrestled 106. And then my senior year, I wrestled 112.
Okay.
And we're state placer?
Yep, I got fourth in state.
Okay. So tell us about your team, because 1996, solid team, had high expectations. Tell us about that season.
Well, and you said you guys had a nickname too.
The Tuffinelli brothers?
Well, I was just talking about you called yourself the choke artist.
Oh, yeah, we choked. Yeah. You got old guys at 96. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we choked pretty hard going into the state tournament. We took 11, which is what we're taking again.
Which is impressive.
Yeah, we were tough. I mean, we were picked when we won everything going up to state, and just did not pull it off. We had every bit of talent to do it. Myself, I got beat in regionals in the finals and overtime, and the kid that beat me has never beat me before, and he ends up winning state. So, it makes a difference where you set in the bracket. Of course, he still had to wrestle in the finals to make that, but that's just like I was saying earlier. I still wake up every night thinking about that match.
Well, and we're facing a little bit of that this week because in regionals, some of our guys didn't perform like we expected them to, and so they're going to be seated a little differently than what we would have anticipated from the beginning.
It makes a difference, and the main thing for those kids is just stay focused, and that semifinals match is going to be a tough one. Just grit through it and make it back to where they know they can beat those kids, because a lot of those had beat those kids and going into that semifinals match or that finals match at regionals, and those kids had won, and they crept up on them, and that happens. I mean, it's a 1-point match, and a lot of those are toss-ups. You either win them or you lose them. So
was that pretty similar to what happened to you guys at state, as far as like just a couple of guys lost some matches they weren't supposed to?
Yeah, we lost a lot of those in the semis, and that's where it hurts you. If we can get to the finals, we win state. Instead, you're going for third and fourth versus first or second. And a team like Choctaw and Reno were tough. Of course, Choctaw's always been up there, but it was tough. We, like I said, we had some tough kids in there, and we should have won it, and we didn't. But no excuses. It was all on us.
Now, you're in your class. Where was the finals? Because I know for us, I was in Cushing. We were at Gallagher-Iba.
Yeah, we were at OU.
Lloyd Noble.
Lloyd Noble. Yep.
The promised land is what I like to call that.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
So interesting.
That's probably why I lost.
Interesting to talk about that, because just how wrestling is in Oklahoma in general. Sunday went to Stillwater, to the real promised land. The scripture says he will lead us beside still water, and so we were there, and Gallagher-Iba was rocking. I mean, to start that match, number 1 against number 2, Penn State, Oklahoma State, it was really interesting that Oklahoma State was ranked number 1, yet most of the individuals for Penn State were ranked higher, and so I guess just bonus points and those kind of things helped Oklahoma State being ranked. But Oklahoma State got whooped, but the crowd there, the largest crowd ever in Gallagher-Iba.
They really hyped it up.
And I have to say, I have to imagine, I haven't looked at records or anything like that, but it has to be one of the largest wrestling crowds ever, I would say.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, I was bummed because I was working. I was telling you I was working that Sunday, but I kind of like you. I was wondering why Oklahoma State was ranked number 1 when all those other rankings with Penn State, and Penn State's tough.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and I knew it was going to be a tough duel, and they're going to have to win some. They're going to have to upset. You know,
we even got some homer calls, and I mean, there were some calls that I was going, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, they're going to have to do some upsetting, and it didn't happen, and that's the outcome.
And there was.
Well, I went the week before. I went to Bedlam Wrestling. It was my first ever collegiate wrestling.
Well, you picked a bad one to
Who
go
won?
to.
Who won that?
Oh my gosh, it was so horrible.
Who won that?
Oh my gosh.
I can't remember.
Okay.
They won every match up until the heavyweight, to the 10th one, and then OU won that one.
And that was their 195 pounder too, by the way.
Anticlimactic. It was unbelievable. But what I couldn't believe was just like you said, the crowd. It was insane. And all of the video package they had, you know, for the wrestlers that were, you know, that came out on the mat and everything like that. It was just like if you would have went to a basketball game or anything like that. I mean, they did it up right, and I was really, really impressed. And you know, of course, my team didn't fare very well, but I absolutely loved the atmosphere, and the crowd was so into it, and it's awesome. And it happens at school too, when you know, in high school too, whenever, you know, a guy gets a point, everybody yells too, or whatever. You know, I mean, it's just really, really neat to see that. And it reminded me of how well attended Sand Springs duels are, and tournaments and stuff. And most towns in Oklahoma are football towns, or you know, like, hey, this is a football school or whatever. And I think Sand Springs can say that they are a football and a wrestling school, because the wrestling program has been good and has been a contender for so many years, that to see the town get behind it is really, really impressive. Because when I was in school, went to Sapulpa, and the wrestling matches were no big deal. I mean, they really weren't that well attended. And then when I started covering sports for the newspaper there, the best attended duels were Sand Springs, Sapulpa.
Oh yeah.
And those were insane duels. I mean, the parents, the fans went nuts. And so it was neat to see that, but I only saw it once or twice a year.
Right.
And then when I started covering sports for Sand Springs, and I went to my very first duel, the student section was full. And they were going crazy, and they were cheering for their schoolmates and everything. And that just blew me away. I mean, it's a sport that is really, really well supported in this town. And I mean, this year is the same thing. I mean, we've discussed, you know, how many people have gone to, you know, watch the duels and things like that. It's just been really impressive.
Well, and the thing about this, people could get offended, whether it's, you know, somebody who has a kid in another sport or academics or whatever, and all those things, and get, when you say Sand Springs is a wrestling and football town, it's easy for them to kind of want to check back on that. But what this is an old phrase that says, when the tide comes in, all boats rise.
Right.
And that's what I think happens when these kind of programs begin to get us notoriety around the state and even around the country. People start turning their heads towards Sand Springs and going, you know, this may be, quote, wrestling and football town, but eventually can become sports town, can become just the town, you know, and that's kind of where we're heading, I think, with those kind of successes.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're heading in that direction. I mean, all the sports are just getting better and stronger, and you know, more people starting to support. It's fun. Like I said, the elementary program's growing every year. Got kids coming from all over, so you're going to get more people moving in and just want to be part of it.
Well, and my son is probably going to kill me for admitting this, but he graduated from Sapulpa last year. He played football and soccer, and we were talking the other day, and he was like, Dad, I would never say this publicly, but Sand Springs does it right. He's like, everything they do is right, from Meet the Sandites to the way the kids get involved to, you know, and he was naming all of these things that he didn't necessarily get at the school, you know, at Sapulpa where he graduated from. And then when you look at Sapulpa being Sand Springs' rival, they're pretty horrible at everything right now. And I can say that because I graduated from there. I played sports there, you know. Sure. But I mean, they're just, right now they're down, but they're down in everything. There aren't very many there aren't really any sports that are successful right now. And then whenever you look at Sand Springs and see how successful they are at everything, I was talking with Rod Sitton today, the athletic director, and I was just like, man, what do you think? You know, I mean, every sport is doing really, really well. And he's like, hey, man, we're just riding this wave, basically, you know. And he said there are schools that go through cycles, and sometimes, you know, it's going to come back around, or it could possibly come back around. But right now, it really doesn't look like it's going to.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got
everyone's
some
just
good
rolling.
things in place, just building on programs.
Oh, the
and
coaches.
building on
Yeah.
success, the coaches, and the character. I can't wait to see what emails and phone calls you get after saying that Sapulpa sucks. Basically, is what you said.
I don't think
that's
any,
what I heard you
I don't
say.
think any of them are listening to this.
Good thing it's recorded, huh?
Follow the leader trivia.
Let's do some quick trivia. We got some trivia,
Yeah,
a couple questions for you. But how many all-time state champions can you name from Sand Springs?
Gosh, I'm probably the worst person to ask this. State champions. So you got Eddie Sullivan, Gabe Hodges. I'm not going in any order by year. I'm just going on coming to the top of my head. Johnny Phillips, Brett Pennington. He's a 2-time. You got Jay Fleshman.
Think of the last 3 years.
Yeah, last
Yeah,
few
you got
years.
Dayton. Yeah.
Okay, you got-
I'm trying to go back.
I
you
got
know,
you. I'm
all-
with you. I'm
got
with you.
Dayton. You got those. See, Dayton's. This would be his 3rd or 4th.
All right, so what we have, what we know of, and maybe we've missed some here along the way, but Zenick Farrell, 2-time.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget Zenick.
No.
David Jones in 2004,
Yeah,
2005.
he's helping out in the elementary. So
See,
I'm
see,
glad
you
to
should have
known that.
I know. You can't put me on the spot like that, man.
David, don't forget that
I've been
he
hitting the
forgot
head
that.
way too many times.
So, Craig Sanders, 78, 79.
Yep.
Rick Warren in 69 through 71. Not sure which year.
That was that. Well, I'm not really sure, but I know that he won. Those 3, Eddie Sullivan, Rick Warren, and Frank Peck, they won in 71
Okay.
for the state championship.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, Gabe Hodges and Johnny Phillips, I don't have that on my.
Yeah, Gabe Hodges was. I believe he was a 2-time state champion.
Okay.
I want to say.
Well, and Kelly said that my records are incomplete,
right.
Because I inherited these. But one of these days, me and him are going to sit down and figure this out because I know that we have more state champions.
Yeah.
Than that.
Yeah, Gabe, and then
You said Johnny Phillips. I think.
Johnny Phillips. Yeah, he was on. I think he was on that 71 team. I believe. He was a tough one. McGuire. You got McGuire on there.
No, but that's one of the ones Kelly mentioned.
Yeah,
he did
Dave
mention
McGuire.
yeah.
Yeah, that's one old man you won't want to cross. He's probably still whoop us all.
I believe you.
What you got? Trivia was
So
Kirk?
your senior year, can you name the 5 state placers?
All right, so you got myself. You got Sean Fisher.
Yes.
Philip Lamb.
Yes.
Eric Scott.
No.
Justin Jackson.
No. He was a qualifier, but he wasn't a placer.
Didn't place.
You only got 2
Did Chris
left.
Phillips place?
Nope. These 2 guys got 3rd,
Yeah.
and one of them, their first name is abbreviated, or it's a initials.
Oh man.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, tell me.
Got Casey Collins.
Casey Collins is
and
heavyweight.
Adam Webster.
Adam Webster. Yep.
Now you guys went 11-1. Who was your one loss to?
It was in Dual State, Choctaw.
That's exactly right. And what were they ranked?
Choctaw.
Yeah.
Ranked number 1.
That's right.
All right. So there, little trivia, little Sand Springs wrestling trivia for you. I think next, as we kind of wrap this up, we like to do a little segment that we call Rapid Fire. So we're going to set you up for that, and right after this break.
More Follow the Leader podcast next.
Inkwell has become a leader in the area specializing in customized apparel, offering screen printing, direct-to-garment printing, embroidery, business cards, vinyl, full-color digital banners, flyers, postcards, yard signs, and so much more. Inkwell is located at 1 West 41st Street in Sand Springs, just 1 block west of Quick Trip. Call 918-508-3634. That's 918-508-3634. And let one of our helpful service representatives go to work for you. Check out Inkwell on Facebook, Instagram, and at inkwellnation.com. Inkwell, your choice for custom apparel and printing.
Follow the leader rapid fire.
Alrighty, Bubba, here what we do with rapid fires. I'm just going to fire off several questions. Most of them are like, do you like this or that more? And so you're just going to answer as quickly as possible. Okay. Just kind of let people get to know a little bit more about who you are in kind of a fun way. Okay, so you ready for it?
Yeah.
Sour Skittles or tropical?
Tropical.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Is Bigfoot real?
Yes.
Aliens?
Yes.
Tacos or pizza?
Tacos.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Netflix or cable?
Cable.
Lifting or running?
Running.
Favorite college football team?
OSU Cowboys.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
All right, there it is, man.
Nice.
Rapid fire. Nicely done. Quick answers.
I liked most of those answers.
You liked it? So you guys could hang out?
Most of those. Yeah. I think so.
Could you wrestle it?
No, God, no.
You want to go takedowns?
I
just want to put a singlet on.
Now, are you still doing any MMA fighting?
No. I got too old and beat up for that. I think I more money. I spent more money fixing my body than I did make. So
Right.
it was time to get out.
Still involved at all, or you train anybody?
No, I would love to. Just don't have time. Don't have time. You know, my kids. I coach, of course, wrestling, and I coach my son in baseball and football, and we go from one sport to the other. And I got my daughter's a junior in high school at cheers, so we travel all over.
I was trying today to get Kelly to help me out and talk to your daughters. And once we figured out we are going to bring you on real quick, and so normally I try to get some dirt or something on each guest and ask questions, but we never did get to connect.
He usually gets some pretty good dirt.
I usually get good stuff. So you got lucky today.
You're really lucky. Yeah.
You know what else we're lucky about? This is the third podcast in a row. It's record breaking here that Kirk has not started off a statement with "I was at the gym," and so he's really proud that he hangs out at the gym.
I'm the next podcast. I'm going to start every sentence with that.
It would not surprise anyone.
I did go to the gym today, by the way.
Well, I'm glad.
Now, real quick, you've seen quite a bit of Sand Springs wrestling throughout the years. In your opinion, where do you think this team stacks up? They haven't gone to state yet, so
right.
you know it's
of course
you're kind of looking into your crystal ball, really.
I mean, there's a lot of talent on this team, just raw talent, which it doesn't come along, you know, all the time. Of course, Dayton, you know, being one of them, but I've coached when they were little, so I know what they have, and they're just talented. They're hardworking kids. They're good kids, you know, and they've got their heads on straight. So. As far as they stack up, probably one. I mean, of course, they're state title. So, but with the other state title team, I don't know. Those guys were just tough. I mean, those guys.
It's a different era too.
They
man.
love to hurt you, you know. And these guys are more talented. So it'd be interesting. Now, my class '96, I'd like to go head to head with them, but.
I was going to ask.
Yeah.
96 versus 17.
Yeah.
What do we got?
I think we could.
What's
could
the
gut
score?
them
What's the
out.
score in that
I think we
duel?
could gut them out.
Ooh.
I don't know. It may come down to the heavyweight.
Yeah.
And we had a heavyweight, Casey, which I couldn't remember, but yeah, Casey Collins. I don't know. It'd be a good one.
Come all the way down to that, huh?
A good thing I'm not at Fix's weight.
Well, it's been awesome, man, having you on. Appreciate you taking time to come in and hang out with us.
Appreciate
it. It's been enlightening as well, man. Love hearing. Hey, I'm sorry, I always try to wrap it up,
Yeah,
and then
go
I think
ahead.
of something that I want to ask.
Yeah.
So, thinking about elementary and the program, and 19 years you've been doing that. Obviously, some of these kids, I said we'd come back to this, are now the kids who are on the varsity squad going for state championships. Tell me a little bit, any of them that when they were in the elementary program, you looked at and go, yeah, this kid doesn't have it.
Yeah.
It's not going to make it. Or, man, yeah, we know this kid's going to go far.
You know, there's a few of them that you're questionable whether they would stick with it. But, I mean, for the most part, I mean, the kids that I coached, I could tell that, you know, they were tough kids. And I mean, wrestling's just a tough sport anyways. But when you're 5 or 6, you know, 7 years old and getting cranked on and kids coming off the mat and frustrated but still wanting to go forward, you know, these kids are going to be something whether they're, you know, a state champion in wrestling or not. And that's one thing I love about this sport. You know, you can wrestle, everything else in life is easy. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a statement you'll hear all the time. So once you wrestle, I mean, everything else just is a piece of cake. But yeah, the team now, I think, you know, the ones that I've coached, there's not really one that I would think, he ain't going to make it. You know, now there may be a couple that I didn't think he'd make it through school.
Yeah, right.
But as far as the wrestling part of it, you know, they've all been pretty talented.
So not one of them that you're surprised they're going for a state championship this week?
No, not this year. I mean, like I said, they've all been pretty tough. I've got about 6 of them, I think, on that team that started with me.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little saddening watching it because I realize how old I am. So he's like, man, I had that kid when he was 6 years old. What, you know, I must be getting old.
Well, obviously you're not getting rich doing that, and so I want to say thanks. You know, from a just community perspective, just investing in those kids and helping them become who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, we don't do it. Anybody that coaches don't do it for money, obviously, unless you're coaching college. But then you make a little more money. But even with Kelly, you know, those guys, you might as well just, you know, the money's not for nothing. You know, it's nothing. So every one of these coaches for high school and junior high, you know, they do it for the love of the sport, you know, and for the town and to give back to these kids and try to shape them into something, you know, whether it be a wrestler or whether hopefully they remember something down in the future, you know, down the road when, hey, I remember when Coach did this and told me this, or, you know, when I wrestled one of the kids in junior high, I remember get beat up by a 40-year-old man or something, you know.
Well, Rusty's on the school board, and I keep telling him to give teachers and coaches a raise, but he just won't do it.
Come on, man.
It's all,
It's all my decision.
it all came down to him and a vote. And that's,
You
better be careful walking out of here when you're saying that.
should I give a disclaimer that was an absolute lie? And
Pretty much everybody knows everything you say is a lie, so we already know if you
Yeah.
say it,
That's
it's a
true.
done deal.
That's a good point. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for
Yep,
coming in.
I appreciate
we
it.
appreciate it. And, I mean, I'm sure we'll definitely see you down there this
Oh, yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I know I'm going to go. Rusty, you going to be
I'll
there?
be there.
Yeah. So thanks for coming in, and, man, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
You've been listening to the Follow the Leader podcast, brought to you by the Sand Springs Leader and Inkwell, your choice for custom apparel and printing. Visit them online at inkwellnation.com. Until next time, everyone hold hands and follow the leader.